What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Angel Ears Prescription. I'm sorry we have not been on in a while. Work schedule has been hectic, to say the least. Some long days, so rushed home today to get this one in. I had to give Matt his props. Pulled off the big win out there in the Delta. So, yeah, guys, that's why I've been around the last couple of weeks. Just I've been getting home and literally got home 2 minutes ago and threw this thing on. So that's why we haven't done it. And, yeah. So, what's up, Matt? Congrats,
What's going
bud.
on? Yeah, thank you.
Good job, man.
Yeah, just got lucky, as Max always says. Just got lucky.
Just got lucky. Right place, right time.
That's it. 100%.
Hey,
Yeah.
James.
Hey, John.
Did I ever tell you work's overrated?
Dude, I'm telling you. 14-hour days are overrated. That's all I got to
yeah.
say.
Man.
Yeah.
So
Well-
8 hours your regular pay, then the government gets for the next 6 hours. The government gets
All of it. Just might as well give it all. to them.
49% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's but you got to do what you got to do, man. That's the industry I'm in, and it's that time of year. So
Gotta do what you gotta do, huh?
got to keep the family fed somehow or another.
That's it. Can't put the kids to work. They're too young.
No, can't put the kids to work, and I got to feed that bad boat somehow. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Have them start making clothes and lures and shoes.
Little sweatshop going in the back of the house.
Right?
My fingers hurt. I don't care.
Yeah.
Keep sewing.
Keep so.
That's terrible. I do not condone that. All right, guys.
I do know.
We do not have a sweatshop in my house. Do not call
Yet.
anybody. Man, our hobby's expensive. You got to pay for it somehow.
I know.
Oh, man.
Really?
Yeah, so sorry, guys. We haven't been around. I'm hoping by next week I should have some relief on these crazy days. So we should be back to once a week unless we got something going on. But, yeah, dude, you lived up at Clear Lake all year long.
Uh-huh.
And you finally decide to venture out of your home pond, and you act like you're fishing Clear Lake again.
Oh, no kidding. Actually, it was better because at Clear Lake we've been scoping the whole time, and at this tournament I didn't.
Dude, I'm telling you, I can't wait for that frog bite and everything to kick off up there at Clear Lake because I'm tired of shaking a minnow up there.
Well, that's what I thought the Delta was going to be. I carried 3 frog rods with me. I had a popping frog, a walking frog, and a buzz frog, and never got a bite on them.
No, man.
So,
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm waiting. I'm hoping to get back up to Clear Lake this weekend. Fingers crossed. And it'd just be nice to not look like this all day long trying to shake
Yep.
a minnow.
I agree.
Like the last tournament we did up there, granted we had a broken boat and we're on the trolling motor all day, but we caught a couple doing some other things. But
I didn't shake a minnow. I don't think at all that day.
yeah, we didn't really have anything to shake a minnow at. I mean,
I was spinnerbaiting.
It was hard to get him. I mean, and it was a tough fight to get him to go. I mean, I did catch a couple on it, but yeah, we had some glide bait fish and some spinnerbait fish and shaking a minnow in 8 feet of water.
Yep.
This is stupid.
I guess technically I scoped on the Delta, but it was only because I was in Amanda's old boat since mine got warrantied, and I don't have a transducer under her hull, so I just threw my Garmin on there, and I had to use the live scope transducer to see depth and water temp. So technically I was scoping the Delta, but I wasn't scoping.
You weren't catching fish on the scope in the Delta.
No. Matter of fact, I just went through some of the video footage today from Saturday, and my screen was paused. I think pretty much every time I had caught a fish, my screen was just sitting there paused because I'd take the transducer out of the water and I would, hit disable sonar.
Yeah.
So, and then I went back yesterday, and I don't think I even put the transducer in the water yesterday. Maybe that's why I didn't catch anything.
But you knew where you were going, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you fish history? Did you pre-fish?
Yep. I hadn't been on the Delta since the BAM event last year. The area I fished is the same thing I fished in the BAM event last year. Didn't do so well in that tournament. I think I cut a check, but it was like towards the bottom of the checks.
Okay.
But the area is something that I fish pretty regularly. I mean, that's a common area for me to be on in the South Delta. And the reason is because it's always windy, it seems like, over there. And the South Delta, regardless of where you put in, there's several ramps to access South Delta. Almost all the South Delta is fishable regardless of what the wind is.
Yeah.
In our tournament, I don't know what you saw, John. I don't remember if it was 10 to 20 or 15 to 25 that day with gusts higher. But I mean, I was fine. James messaged me. It was shortly after I caught the 24 and a quarter. He messaged me and asked me how the conditions were, and I sent him a video. And I told him, I said, the wind's blowing. I mean, it's blowing like crazy, and it's causing boat positioning, not difficulties, but yeah, I mean, it was blowing me around. But I said, there's no waves. I mean, your waves were still, 2 inches maybe. So that's what's nice about the South Delta. I think it's just because the levees are higher maybe, and there's not as much open water. You're fishing more canals and stuff, but you're always protected.
You get into like the east side of Mandeville or Mildred or Frankstown, that could be nasty.
Oh yeah.
When it's ripping like that. That's why I haven't been out yet. So every time I look at the winds, I'm like, dude, do I really want to deal with that?
Well, and I told you, I went yesterday. Yeah. It was 15 to 25 with gusts to like 32 or something like that yesterday, and it was fine where I was.
Yeah, there's a couple spots when you hit the main channel. If it's blowing right down there, it can get a little sketchy when you're trying to shoot into the next slough. I've noticed that in some of the areas down there.
Depending on which way the tide's going, the wind's blowing. If they're going against each other, then it lifts the water up. Yeah.
Yep, and good point. So like even yesterday, it was pretty warm yesterday, but I still wore my bibs. I wear those the AFCO Barricade, so it's not insulated or anything. It's just light bibs. Mm-hmm. I wore that on the bottoms yesterday because of the splashing. Same thing as tourney day. On my way back, the wind was blowing opposite the tide. So you're right. It would stack it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't spearing waves. They weren't big enough to actually spear and take over the bow. But when the bow would splash into them, that spray would get blown on you.
Oh, yeah.
And so I wore bibs for that. But, I mean, that was the only place, maybe that last 2 miles to the launch, that was the only place I dealt with any waves per se.
Yeah, it was dead flat where I was at. Yeah. Dead flat.
A lot of mine was, too.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping there would be some wind. It was so hot.
Mm-hmm.
And you stand up, get your head above that levee, though. You're like, whoa, there it is.
Right. Yeah, it was funny. First thing in the morning, this area looked real good for a frog, and I threw my frog out there, and I started walking it back, and I got right next to a little patch of hydrilla, and I stopped it for a second, and I went pop, pop, and an 8-incher inhaled this frog. I set the hook, I reeled down, and it flew over my head. I said, dang, I missed that fish. And then I looked, I said, no, I caught that
fish. Well, I was going to pre-fish the weekend prior to the tournament, and that was the weekend they canceled both the BBTs and the ABA on the Delta because of the wind. Right. And so I was like, man, it would be stupid for me to go out. Amanda was out of town, and I was like, I don't need to go out there and play in big wind with nobody home to realize if something happened that I didn't come back. Right. So I actually made a trip to Eastman that previous weekend instead of pre-fishing the Delta. So the only thing I had to go on was history, and then what I found just on local reports. I watched some videos and stuff, and luckily before, let's see, so Saturday, so that would have been Wednesday, a couple guys uploaded a video from the Delta that is in the area, or at least they were out of the launch where I fished, so I got to see what the water looked like. Mm-hmm. That's what happened in the BAM event. I hadn't gone out there in so long, and when I launched, the water was nasty, muddy. They had come through and nuked all the vegetation, so there was nothing, and I didn't know until the day of. Whereas this time, I got to see that video, and I'm like, oh, sweet, the water looks good, the grass looks healthy. They've been spraying, but they haven't been spraying the hydrilla. They've been spraying the hyacinth and all the surface vegetation. Huh. So it was actually beautiful in that area where I was at. I mean, super healthy hydrilla. There was a lot of cheese, which I think is funny. I saw Pia Zhang posted up and said that he wished there was some cheese in the area. And I saw Pia during the tournament on the water, and there was cheese in our area, but it was not everywhere. It was isolated mats of it, but there was some good cheese. But I never found anything frog-wise or anything under that cheese. So everything I did was just hydrilla.
All the cheese I came across had the angel hair underneath it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that where I was too. Matter of fact, when I caught the 24 1/4 first thing in the morning, in the video when I was watching, almost every cast, that bait would touch the water and I'd start reeling. And it was the Chatterbait Evo Elite Tungsten, the new Tungsten Evo. And I was throwing a 1/2 ounce. It was all I had. It would hit the water and I'd start reeling, and I was still getting that angel hair on there.
Oh, yeah.
And having to pick it off pretty much every cast.
Mm-hmm. They grow a beard every time.
Yep, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard that area that's got some, like you're saying, the grass is super healthy.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah, it's beautiful. I mean,
yeah.
beautiful.
So I remember last year, like I said, it was they killed it all and it just destroyed that area.
Well, even then, so like I said, the area that I caught the 23 and the 24 3/4, so the area I fished in the afternoon, that is an area that I fish almost every time I go to the Delta, whether it's boat, kayak, whatever. And Amanda's working tournaments, so all her phones are ringing. But, you know, I fish it all the time. And even last year, I catch a ton of fish in there, but the grass never looks as good as what it did this weekend.
This year, yeah.
It was very clean, it looked like the hydrilla out in the middle of Frank's track.
Right.
Just perfect. There's nothing in it. You know, it's just pure hydrilla.
That's the good stuff.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you started off with a chatterbait in the morning, I take it?
Yep. Yeah, I made a run. Obedy and I actually launched at the same place. Both of us made a long run to start with. Thankfully, he was not going the direction I was. I was a little rushed when it went lines in because I wanted to hit a few things, but I knew he was coming up behind me and I didn't want to go too slow.
Well, wait a minute. You were rushed because why?
Because Obedy was coming up behind me.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, O is obviously, you know, he's a stick on the Delta. You know, everybody knows that. And
I was just thinking about what you told me the other day.
Oh, well, when he launched behind me, I was like, or when we launched together, he actually got out first, but he's running the NK 180 Pro or whatever, so I'm a little faster than he is. So I caught up to him and passed him. But, you know, I was managing battery because I knew I was going to make some long runs, so I wasn't running hard. And when the first place I wanted to fish is at a junction where two canals come together. And we went lines in. I made like 4 casts, and I looked back, and he came around the corner behind me, and I was like, I don't want him to beat me to where I was actually going to start, which is where I caught that big one in the morning. So I ended up leaving it and just running onto that place. And it's just a break in a levee wall. There's a current that runs through it, and you can get to either side of the break. The trick with that break is knowing which way the current's going and which way you need to set up. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you want to pull your bait with the current. So thankfully, in the morning, the tide was running a direction where the way I approached it was the way you needed to be to fish it. So I got in the break, made a couple casts with the chatterbait, thought I got a bump, nothing stuck. But like I said, the water, as much as it was high tide at first light, the water was not deep, even in there.
Right.
Because either that or the grass is really grown. Because, I mean, like I said, instantly when that bait touched the water, I was in grass. And I was ripping that chatterbait, like popping it. And it's funny, when I hooked that fish, I was reeling it with a rod tip high, so I didn't have a whole lot to pull back on anyway. And I'm popping it, and you see me, I pop, and then I'm like, whoa, and I'm just like, I'm way up here, and I was like, oh, and having to reel down to actually get tight on that fish. But, you know, I made a comment on one of Max's posts the other day that I don't set the hook on chatterbait fish anyway. I just reel into them and then kind of lean on them. So thankfully that fish got enough of the hook in its mouth to hang on to it. It did wrap me up. I still don't know what it wrapped me on, but when it wrapped me, I felt the line, you know, you could feel your line pull on something, and the fish rolled on the surface, and my line's going this way, and the fish rolls over here, and I was like, oh, man. But it worked out, and because of the way my day went, y'all know how I ended up. I truly believe it's one of those things where when it's your time, and you can't screw it up, and that's 100% what happened. That fish wrapped me up. It came out. My net job was not fantastic on that or my other big fish. It just worked. Everything worked.
Man, only if you could have gotten that one unwrapped out of that dock pile on at the clear.
Oh man. Which one? The one in the team tournament or the one with you?
The one with me.
Yeah.
We know how big that one was. That thing was a monster.
Yeah. But yeah, so that first fish of the morning, 24 1/4. It was 9 pounds, 1 ounce.
It's a giant.
That's a good way to start the morning.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So you get
and
that
I was
one.
shaking.
I bet.
Is that your first 9 out of the Delta?
No, I have a 915 that came out of the Delta in a
Oh.
Delta kayak bass series, the original kayak series that started here forever ago, back in 2013.
I'm that close to a 10.
Yeah. I got 2 of those. I got 2 of those that are that close to a 10.
Man. So you get the 9-1, 24 1/4, and then chatterbaits in your hand.
Man. Yep. Yeah. I carried 2 chatterbait rods with me. I was throwing that tungsten Evo that was in Bama Crawl, which is kind of like an amber and green pumpkin skirt. It's got a copper blade on it, which is very different. And I had that paired with a Strike King blade minnow in Falcon Lake Crawl, which is, again, it's a red and green pumpkin basically. So I had that on one rod, and on the other one I was throwing a dirty white, which is the white with a gold blade jackhammer. And I had that paired with a 5.5-inch spunk shad, Hog Farmer spunk shad. And so I was just bouncing back and forth between the two. Both of them were getting bites. I stayed in that area for way too long. Obviously, I stuck that big one, and I wanted to try and milk it to see if there's anything else there. I got like 2 other bites in that break, but didn't stick anything. And I really tried to force that area, which, like I said, I didn't produce anything else out of there, but I wanted to be thorough. I've caught a bunch of big fish out of there. The year I took second behind Pua in the Chris Laird, I stuck a giant there on day 1. I think it was not a giant, but it was like a 6'8" or something like that. And on day 2, I dumped one that was probably 6 pounds in that same break. So once again, I was fishing history, and I know there's multiple good fish that usually stay in there, and it just didn't work. But I ran some rock walls, had a lot of bites on rock walls with a chatterbait. It had to be either inside the grass line in the trough between the rocks and the grass, or on a clean rock bank. I was actually on the old river doing that, and there was just certain sections that really produced, to the point where either chatterbait didn't matter. Almost every cast I got bit, you just weren't hooking them for whatever reason. I mean, they'd knock slack in the line, you'd feel the blade stop. I'd just keep reeling and nothing. It would never load or anything. It was like they were just smacking it. So I never figured that one out. I had another break in that same general area. I stuck one that was probably 4 that came up and jumped and threw it about halfway back to the boat. And that was about it for the chatterbait. Once about probably 10 o'clock or so came, the chatterbait bite just died. I never did get another hit on it. So
That's
when
when
it
I
was
got
high tide in the morning.
High tide was at 6 o'clock, 6:05, something like that. So It was high tide right at line's end. So we had fallen water pretty much all day.
So then low tide, you ended up doing what? Punching?
Punching. I hate low tide on the Delta. I've never done well. Usually in tournaments that are set up where we have tides like we did on Saturday, I basically have to do my damage in the mornings, because once that tide gets low, I struggle. Like, I took a drop shot with me Saturday just in case. Never did resort to. I think I threw it one time and I stuck a fish. It was like 8 inches long or something like that, and I put it back. I was like, I don't need that rod.
Yeah.
I went to punching though on that low water, and I got, like I said, I stayed way too long in my first area, and it was probably close to 2 or 3 miles from there to the area where I spent the afternoon. So once I got in there and worked it, every year it's different. Every year there's a different section of that general area that produces the fish. And I got in there and I was really trying to pick it apart, punching. There's a lot of grass. It's like in the channel and on the sides. And you just got to figure out what section's hot, because I didn't pre-fish. It took me a while to find those fish, but I found a section that's probably maybe 30 yards long, and it's one grass edge. And what it is there's a big flat. When the water's up, I catch them on frog up on top of that flat. But it gets so shallow at low tide that, it's mud, basically. The grass is just laying on the mud. So those fish have to pull off to the side of it. And that grass edge, in the grass after it comes off that shelf, you're looking at maybe 4 feet. And then once you get to the outside edge of the grass, it's a straight drop. It's into like 9 to 11 feet of water. And those fish, they were in, I want to say the 23 and the 24 and 3/4 I caught, both of those, my bait landed 6 inches into the grass off that hard edge. And I went back and forth, I think 5 times on that little stretch. And I caught a 23, a 24 and 3/4, a 15 and a half, a 16 and a half, and I think I had 4 non-keepers that came off of that 130-yard stretch.
Nice.
And I had called Amanda. I was like, hey, I said, you're not going to believe this. I have smashed 3 big ones today, and I have to quit fishing. And it was well before lines out, but I was, like I said, it's probably 6 miles from the ramp at that point. And I was like, I have to leave. I said, I mean, the fish are biting. Like, I just caught this 23, but I got to go. I said, I can't afford to not make it back to the launch by 2:30.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was probably, man, it had to be like 12:45 maybe when I quit fishing. And I just haul-tailed to the ramp.
Yeah, that's the one tough thing about when you're that far away is
Yeah.
like, when do I call it? I know I need an hour to get back. Do
Yeah.
I give myself an hour and 10? Do I give myself an hour and a half? Do I give myself an hour and 5 minutes? It's like,
Well, exactly. And it's not even it's no different whether you're in a kayak or the boat. You have to budget for the distance and your speed as well as the what if. You know, if my drive goes, I've got to swap my pedals in for the motor, and at that I think I can still do probably 4.1, 4.2 on pedals and hold it for an hour.
depends upon the tide.
Yeah.
Which way the tide's going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. If it's windy out there and the tide's, pushing and the wind's going the other way,
Yep.
you could get stuck in that stuff and you're not going nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going cruising. I launched down south, different launch, I think. But I forgot what river it was. It was where it hit the main channel. And I'm cruising along, and man, that current coming from that main channel about spun me around. I was like, whoa!
Well, that's what, I don't know if you saw Obity's video. That's what he said. That's what flipped him.
Oh, okay.
He basically, it sounded like it was like a junction, and he was in slack water and got into the current. And when he made the corner, that current hit him, and he just wasn't ready for it. It spun him and flipped him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was violent, dude. How quick that thing just like you get in that current and it just changes.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah, like you're saying, if you got a fast moving tide, right? You're going against it, and you're usually with yours 6 1/4 wide open.
Yeah.
You might be going 5, 4 1/2 if the tide's ripping, which I've seen that a lot of times too. So
Absolutely.
a lot of what ifs with that one.
Yeah, even in a bass boat, when you go across those areas, the boat has a tendency to slide back and forth.
Feel the back end wiggle.
Yeah. If you never experienced it, the first time you do, you're like, whoa, what was that?
I'll be getting some of that come TOC time, I'm sure.
But yeah, so it was all chatterbait in the morning, and then that afternoon it was all punching. I was using a 1 ounce tungsten weight over a Strike King structure bug in the Falcon Lake crawl, and just coating the daylights out of it with the Procure garlic crawfish. So nice clean water. I mean, Delta crawfish are red. I don't know how many otters you saw, John, but I saw otters everywhere eating crawfish.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
I just ran that pattern.
Yeah, I saw a lot of seals too. First stop I went to, there was a seal right in front of me, and I was like, "Uh-oh."
Yep, I never saw that.
Things.
I saw otters, beavers, and raccoons.
It's all a good sign, though.
Yeah.
Seeing wildlife.
That's why all the big fish are hiding from the seals over there.
Yeah, it was interesting though. I mean, like you say, it was my time, I guess, because I went back into that area yesterday. That little 30-yard stretch, and I purposely fished later than what I was there during the tournament because the tide's 2 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
That 30-yard stretch, I got one bite. did stick him. Just one bite as that broke through the grass. It was pretty brutal yesterday.
Yeah.
You
That's
beat
how the
them all
Delta
up.
is.
Yeah.
So, God dang it. I lost my train of thought, man. I have no idea what that. I had a question. It's gone.
I caught some fish yesterday, just nothing that compared.
You have any water hyacinth too that was in that area?
I wish. I had a little bit of grass that we called back in South Carolina. We call it alligator grass. It's that bright green leaves. It runs on vines. It grows on vines. I had a little bit of that, and when I say a little bit, like not even a kayak size worth. Just mainly hydrilla, little bits of cheese here and there. And there was one spot that had a little bit of duckweed. I did catch a fish out of there. It was a short one, and that was it. It was all just hydrilla.
Very good.
I love hyacinth. I wish I could have found hyacinth. That's my favorite thing to punch. And that's what I'll tell you, in years past, that is what's usually in that area. There's one section, it's like a channel swing, like a bend. And up against those rocks, there's deep water, and that hyacinth is always on that bank, and I have always cracked them on there. And there's just none. So I said, I'm assuming they're spraying all that.
Yeah, so. I was fishing across the way, and I see some hyacinth floating. I jammed over there. My second flip, I caught a 17-incher. One of my biggest fish.
That's what when I lived in Florida, that's what we flipped was hyacinth.
I netted a net full of fish, hyacinth, knot, and hydrilla. I could barely pick the net up out of the water.
I don't know if it was my net skills Saturday or if it was the fish were just crazy, but all three of those big ones I had trouble getting into the net. I'd put the net in the water and they would hit the rim of it and they would be like right on the surface, like burning on the surface, skipping across it. Yeah. I'm like, what is going on? Like, come on, man, get in the net.
That's what I was gonna say. It looked like some of those videos they still had some bloody tails, like they just got done.
Yeah, I had bloody tails on mine.
Yeah, like they definitely were just got done doing the deal.
It's funny. I put up that 24 1/4 that morning. And I got a text from James. Was it a double digit? I got a text from Alda. Did you finally get your double digit? I'm like, man, y'all know I don't catch double digits.
Well, that video you sent me, you're like 9.1. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like, man, and then you turned it sideways, like, oh, dude, she is skinny.
Yep. And that 24 3/4 was actually lighter. It was 8.14.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, but, I was talking with Bass Cat Holmes. I can't think of her dang name. But I told her, she asked me if it was my PB. I said, no. I said, I got a 25 1/4 that still wasn't a double digit.
That's crazy. Florida fish, huh?
No, it was here. I got a
really?
24. I got a 25 1/4 here that was not a double, and I got a 25 that was not a double.
That's crazy. I can't believe that 24 3/4 is only 8.13, 8.14.
Yeah, I figured both those are over 10.
Nope. And then my 23, which you would think was probably a 7, maybe an 8 pounder, it was only 6.6.
That's crazy. Hey, catch 23 at Clear Lake, man. You're probably putting a double digit.
That's what I said. That's a 7.5, 8 pounder. But I had a little over 24 pounds with 3 fish.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild.
That's good.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing too, because my other 2 fish in my limit were dinks. I had a 15.5 and a 16.5.
James put Kathy. That's her name.
Yeah, Kathy. There you go. Bass Cat Holmes.
Yeah, dude. So you had put 28, 29 pounds ish.
28 pounds, 9 ounces was my best 5.
And I mean that's any boat tournament out there right now is.
Oh,
that's crazy. You'd annihilate them. Yeah. So was the last week, the windy Wednesday nighter was like 21 and some change, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a hell of a bag to do it out of a little plastic boat.
Yep. Well, that little plastic boat got a lot of range to it.
Yeah, it does.
That's what I was talking to a guy yesterday. He was like, man, he asked me how I did in the tournament. I said, I won it with 103 3/4, 28 pounds. He goes, man, sometimes all you got to do is stay right here by the ramp. I was like, oh, no. I didn't stay by the ramp. I was a long way from the ramp.
How many batteries did you bring with you?
I carried 3, both the tournament day and yesterday, but I only used 2.
Yeah, you were in for it.
Like I said, I manage the batteries. I almost never run wide open. On the way out, like I said, I passed Obity, but I was running like 5.2, because I knew I was going to go a long way. So I don't run it wide open.
Yeah, well, it's also a good thing you have that third battery just in case.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I got the new Torqeedo, the Travel Ultralight, and it comes with a bigger battery, and I got 2 of those. So I'm interested to see how it does as far as efficiency and with those bigger batteries. If 2 of them will be enough.
Can you run one of your old batteries with the new one?
Nope, they're not swappable.
Oh,
bummer.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hey, you got 2 bigger batteries, so
yeah. And I still have. We have 2 1103s, and we have the Evolve, which goes down in the Hobie drive well, and all those use the same batteries. So.
No, there you go. When are you gonna get the new kayak rigged up?
I have a shipment coming in today that is the motor mount and the foot steering kit, and I'm supposed to be working on that this week, as well as doing the bearings and stuff on both trailers. I got to get all that maintenance done.
Bearings, fun times.
Yeah. But I got both of those Pro Anglers to rig, and we have Amanda's Lynx to rig this week.
That's right. So you got a warranty hull. Did you pick up a new boat too, or no?
Yeah, warranty hull, a new one, and then the Lynx.
So where'd it crack at?
Under the front seat leg. Mine was a 2023, so it didn't have the plates underneath the legs, and I never put them under there, and it split. I plastic welded it, used stainless steel staples in there to reinforce the weld area, and then I went to Tap Plastics and got a sheet of, I think it was 1/2 inch starboard, and I just cut it and got the longer bolts and put that in, and it never cracked again. So the new boats all come with the plates. I got one of the new boats. I think the warranty hull came with the metal plates, and then the new 2025 came with I don't know if they're printed or whatever, but it came with those new poly or whatever plates.
They do them on the back legs yet, where the kickstand is?
I don't know. I'd have to go look.
There's a guy that makes them a kit where you can do the front ones and then where the back.
Is that Tim Percy?
It's molded. No, it's God dang, I can't remember his name.
I know Tim makes the plates for the front one.
My buddy sent me a link to it, but it's molded or it goes in the back. Because his cracked there. He had an older PA-14 where it cracked back there.
Yeah. Which
that's the first time I've seen one do that. But obviously the guy's making parts for it. It happens. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mine, like I said, I've probably had 13 Pro Anglers over the years, and that's the first time I've ever had a hull failure.
See, James is on point. Ryan Murphy. It's not the Ryan Murphy that fished with us. It's a different Ryan Murphy.
Yeah.
He makes the plates.
Yep.
See? He's the name guy right there. He's just spitting them out for us.
That's his job, man. He's kayaks and kayaks accessories.
Kayaks and kayaks accessories. Yeah, not our local Ryan. Yeah. Oh, man.
So when you were working your chatterbait, obviously, when you were throwing it out, you were keeping it up high. Were you like stopping it, running it, stopping it, running it?
So in that grass, like in the cut where I caught the big one, I didn't have an option. I mean, because that grass was so high up or had grown so high, I was running into it constantly, so I was having to rip it. And so those 2 chatterbait rods I was throwing, one is the PAL Platinum 735, and the other one is the Shimano X-Bride B. It's a 7.2. The X-Bride has too much give to throw it in grass.
Right.
You cannot rip it through that grass. It bows every time you try and pop it. The PAL 735 is also a glass rod, but it's a 5 power, and it's got enough backbone that you can rip it free. And so that's what I was doing. Like I said, I mean, when that big one hit, I had popped, and I was in grass when I was popping it, and the fish just was there when I started to continually reel again. So I was using the heavier one in the grass so I could rip it free. But when I was running the rock banks, I was throwing the X-Bride because it's just open water. Like I said, I was fishing that trough or either clean rock bank. And on those, I was just running it slow enough to where I could feel it hitting on the rocks. And that would give it that hunting action, I guess, underwater that would cause them to strike.
So what you're saying is that PAL 735 is the money.
I like it. I like it a lot.
So
I don't usually fish in grass with a chatterbait though.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Sprite is what I usually use, like up at Clear Lake, because I fish rock, or my Guru. That's my preferred open water rod is my Guru, and the Guru is heavy enough that you can rip it through grass if you run braid, but I don't. I run 18-pound Sunline Flora.
So when you were flipping, were you letting it hit the bottom, shaking it?
Yep. They were eating it on the drop.
Okay.
But yeah, I always let it go to the bottom. I'll hop it once or twice, and that's it. I don't let it soak. Joe Tax fusses at me about that because I know he likes the dead stick, but I move so fast down a bank that it's like when it goes through, it hits the bottom, I pop it, and then I just reel it back.
Right.
It's kind of cool when I turned that video loose from this tournament. The 23 I caught, I don't know, I guess it was the sun and the camera angle was just right. You can see my rod right in front of the camera, and I flip the bait out, and you see the bait hit the water. But what you notice is the line between the reel and the first eye, it jumps when that fish hits.
Oh yeah.
Like you could see it pop when it went through that mat. So they were definitely hitting it on the fall.
So they were like right underneath the mat, or?
I think they were down towards the bottom, but they would hit it before it got to the bottom. I mean, I didn't have to pick it up and work it or anything to make them bite.
Yeah, a lot of times they're like right underneath, and when you drop it in, they follow it down and eat it before it hits the bottom.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was Denny Brower years ago had a video where he did, and he was talking about was it Denny Brower? Maybe it was Shaw Grigsby. I think it was Shaw. It was in Florida. And in Florida, like I said, we flip hyacinth a lot. And it's like you said, you flip it out there when you first start the day, and you got to figure out what the fish are doing. You let it go through. If they hit it on the drop, great. If they don't, you let it go to the bottom. You bounce it once or twice on the bottom, and then you reel it up to the bottom of the mat, and you bang it against the bottom of the hyacinth mat.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times if those fish are hanging, the hyacinth has like the stringy roots that hang down. They'll get in that stuff, and you got to bang it against the hyacinth mat to get them to eat it. So I'll do a little bit of each until I figure out what the fish are doing, and then like I said, I'm power fisherman, so I'm moving quick trying to do it.
Right. Yeah, I was fishing that snotty stuff, and after about an hour, I was starting to kind of get a little frustrated because, I mean, come on! Every time I flip in there, it grow a beard.
Yep, you got to pull all that off. It gets stuck on your bobber stops.
Pull it out, and I'd have to take it in the water.
Yeah.
And I'd look for the cleanest stuff I could find, and normally that was pretty shallow, and then I'd pitch it up shallow. And immediately we hit the bottom, then I'm in a rock. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
well, and one thing O asked me was what weight I was using. I was throwing a 1-ounce tungsten, and he was kind of surprised about that. And he's like, "You get away with that light?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, depending on what I was flipping it into, there were times when I was having to pitch it up in the air a little bit and let it, give it slack to where it bombs in.
Mm-hmm.
So there was times I never had to actually. Like in the hyacinth, we throw it up in the air and then you snatch it down. I never had to do any of that. I mean, just lobbing it where it had like a foot to free fall before it hit the grass was enough to get it to break through pretty much everything I was in.
That's good.
That stuff was pretty thick too, looking at the video.
Yeah.
You releasing the fish, I was like, man, you got some good thick stuff there.
Yeah, well, that's not what I was fishing, but because of the wind blowing, when you went to measure a fish, you either wound up on the rocks or in the grass.
Yeah.
So I was buried up in the grass measuring fish.
So when you get in that grass, I got to ask you because, so I run the front mount, and anyways, I got in that stuff, and it would take me, I don't know, 10 minutes with the paddle, and I would dig away at the crap on the prop, and turn it on, turn it off, and finally I'd kick it on and it would blow it all out, and then have to paddle to get the kayak out of the stuff and then lower it down, on the back. How did that torpedo act?
It blows right through it.
Blows right through it, huh?
Yep. So, I mean, obviously just the way it works with the wind blowing in a kayak, the bow of the kayak would go into the grass first and the motor would be towards open water. But you would bury all the way into the grass bed.
Sure.
I run the Innovative Sportsman Rock Guard, so you got those two tines that hang down below the prop. So reverse does not work that great. It'll go in reverse and back up, but it will clog with the grass because the tines actually capture that grass and hold it to where the prop won't be able to do anything.
Right.
Forward, it goes right through it. You learn that instead of, intuitively you think I need to back up because the open water is behind me, but you don't. Just turn it hard, punch it in forward, and that 1103 just eats it and it goes right out. And then once you're in open water, you throw it in reverse one time, give it just long enough to where the kayak starts moving backwards, and you'll see that entire grass chunk flow out from under the boat, and then you just go back and forward.
Right.
So
we learned that.
Take my NK, wrap my pull cord up, hit the throttle, clear it, jump back down. But I don't have the rock guard on it, so I don't know if that's.
So in forward, the rock guard helps keep the grass away from the prop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that. Amanda and I fished a Yakka bass tournament 2 years ago on the Delta, and that's the only time my drive has ever been put in that kayak that I just warrantied. And I took it, we were fishing South Delta, and I took it because the grass was so thick, and I was like, when I get in that grass, I'll put the drive in and pedal.
Right.
Nah, we learned pretty quick. You just hammer the throttle on the 1103 and it just goes through it. Way better than the pedals do.
Yeah, the pedals.
The pedals suck in the grass. Oh, God.
They're better than a prop. They're way better than a prop.
Yeah.
But yeah, compared to 1103, it's nothing.
Yeah. That's
do both paddle and then get the fins right underneath the kayak.
Yep.
Have to kick them like that a little bit. Yeah, but it helped a little bit, definitely. Mm-hmm. But it was a struggle every time. I pitch in there, it hit the bottom, I pick up, set the hook, and there'd be like an 8-incher. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I caught one punching that might have been 8 inches long.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
I was like, "What's that fish thinking?"
And it hit it like a freight train too, which is what blew my mind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, what's next for you, Matt? Where are you going next?
I don't know.
Delta.
Well, this coming Saturday, Dean's got the food allergy on McClure.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of maintenance and building to do on kayaks. So I don't know if I'll go to that or not. Outside of that, depending on what happens, you and I have a BBT in June 21st on Clear Lake.
Yep.
And then the following weekend is supposed to be our Western Wild Card.
Yeah. So maybe, you know what? That's your homework, John. You know Kong better than us. Get him on the show. Start promoting that.
I have some tidbits, but I can't say anything.
Yep.
At the moment.
Okay.
I'm right there with you.
There was an incident about Clear Lake, so.
Yep.
Anyways, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but as soon as he gets the permit, which probably tomorrow, he's gonna let me know, and I'll post it on Western Bass.
Okay. Yeah. Get a hold of him, John. Once he gets all the details, and see if we can't get him on next week.
Okay.
We'll promote that, and then I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to be, because if it's going to work out where I can do the BBT the weekend before and fish the kayak one, I might throw my hat in the ring on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as my work schedule allows, so just got to keep that in mind.
And then the food allergy this Saturday.
At McClure.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always a great tournament to fish.
Yep.
Even if you've never fished one before, that's the one you want to fish.
And if you can't fish, you can always donate. And if you don't want to donate money, you can always put something together for the silent auction.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I usually send even when I haven't fished it in the past, I've always sent a box with some baits and stuff in it for the silent auction.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, get signed up for that this weekend. It's definitely for a good cause, and Dean and they do a good job with that one.
And I don't know McClure. I know, John, you fish it. I've been there one time, and it was in practice. We smashed them on top waters. I mean, it was fun fishing.
So anyways, yeah, go top water.
Yeah. So all right, guys, I'm gonna go eat some dinner and say hi to my kids. And
what?
my wife.
What?
I know, dude. I gotta get back up again at 2:00 tomorrow morning. Do another 14-hour day.
Hey, what did I say about work?
It's overrated.
Overrated.
I hate to cut it short, guys, but I wanted to get something out for you and give Matt his props on his win. Congrats, dude.
Appreciate it.
That's a hell of a bag on the Delta.
Thank you very much.
Congrats, O, on your second place. The third place was
Casey Remy, I believe.
Yeah, Casey.
Yeah, Casey. Max, good job cracking top 5. And
Yep,
fourth
he was
place.
4th. Greg was 5th. Greg caught his fish on a popper or a popper. I don't know if it was a popper, but it was a popper.
Yeah.
I
Well, right on, guys. Well, we will catch you. I hope to God next week. If not, I'll do another rush show like I did this evening. Might be a few minutes late again, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, after next week I can actually work a 12-hour day and come home. So,
Yeah, just tell them on Tuesdays you got a doctor appointment.
yeah, I know. Yeah, right. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching. My condolences to the Mora family. I don't want to not leave without saying that. Guys, remember that. Just keep their family in your prayers, and that's all I got to say on that.